Hi guys! Today I'm going to be talking about something very exciting, and that is Blue Lily, Lily Blue by Maggie Stiefvater, which I actually looked it up. That is how you pronounce her last name. I was surprised. Stiefvater. Stiefvater. Sorry, I just butchered your name. Just as a warning to everybody, this is going to be spoilery. Spoilers. Spoilers. You have been warned. Do not watch this if you haven't read the other books or Blue Lily, Lily Blue, because I'm getting all up in its business and we're going to be talking about everything. So for those of you that don't know, I absolutely love the Raven site. And I really like the Scorpio Races by the same author, whose name I'm not going to butcher again. And I decided, what the hell, I'll just pick them up. These books are so good. So good. Like, God, just, these are one of those books where, for me, the most important thing when you read a book is characters. Now, I like good plot just as much as the next person, but for me, you can have a good plot and shitty characters and it will just do nothing for me. Like, it's gotta be all about the characters. I'm not gonna care about the book if I don't care about the people. These books have some of the best characters I've ever had the privilege of reading about. So in the last book, it kind of left us with a couple of things. We found out that Ronan can whip stuff out of his dreams, basically whatever he wants. And in this book, we actually find out that Matthew, Ronan's younger brother, that Ronan actually created him when he was little. So it's kind of the boundaries of this, like the possible lines that could have been drawn, are just non-existent. Like, he can pull anything out of his dreams. And then we're left with Adam is kind of having these weird new powers since he promised himself to Cabeswater. Yeah, I don't know if I said that right. But the little magical plot of land that they go to. And then, of course, in the last book, I was very excited. Blue and Gansey started getting romantic, which, yes. I ship them, you guys. I ship them so hard, it's not even funny. And it's so tragic because if you read the books, you know that Blue kind of has this curse where if she kisses her true love, he'll die. And so she doesn't know who her true love is, but if she starts to like a boy, it's kind of like, ah, well, that sucks because I could possibly kill you, so yeah. So they are kind of having this forbidden romance thing because Adam's a butthole and they don't want them to know, so they're kind of like tentatively pursuing each other late at night, and it's wonderful. And then at the very end of the last book, we find out that Blue's mom has apparently gone underground where Blue's father also is, which is kind of like, okay, yeah, whatever. Like, I didn't see that one coming, but whatever. So this book starts off with them, the search isn't going well. You know, they obviously realize that Blue's mom is probably underground somewhere in one of the caves that has to do with Glendower. Call him Big G. With Big G hiding somewhere, you know, where he supposedly has been buried. So that's great, except these books are based around them not knowing where that is and trying to find it. So they're kind of screwed. The thing about these books is, once I kind of started reading, I developed this probably silly theory that maybe her father, Artemis, was actually Big G. Now, I know that sounds silly, but Blue obviously has powers, her mom has powers. I mean, maybe somehow she went down there and woke. Now that I'm trying to explain this, I realize how silly it sounds, because if her mother had woken him up, then there would have been no need to find him because he'd be awake, so now I feel silly. But I was thinking maybe somehow that was what was going on. But you find out later that can't be it. That's not it. So my already ridiculous theory is now even more ridiculous. Now, the first thing I have to say about this book is, to me, it didn't feel as fast-paced as the other books, and that's okay. Luckily, the characters are fabulous, so there was no problem here. I like I like watching the relationships being built, because I feel like these books, they have the whole quest with trying to find Big G. They have, you know, Blue trying to figure out her powers and everything being tied together. I mean, they have all this stuff. But for me, these books are really about the Raven boys. It's about these boys and their relationships and their friendships and what they mean to each other. So when I read them, I don't take away so much the plot. I feel the characters. Like, it makes me sad that these boys are not my friends, because I feel like I know them and I feel like they are mine, but they're not, because that's crazy and I sound like a weirdo, but that's what these books are to me. So watching all these, you know, relationships kind of take further steps in this book didn't take away from the storyline at all to me, and there still was plenty of storyline. It just didn't feel as fast-paced as the other ones. One of the things I really liked in this book, it was only a tiny little chunk, but I really liked watching Blue kind of, not that her powers grew necessarily, but she just kind of became more self-aware of what it was that she could do. So, like, she learned to kind of put this bubble around herself and cut off her power. Like, Noah was going crazy at some point with this weird, like, exorcism stuff. He basically was, like, possessed and being all spooky. And she just cut the plug and he blipped out of existence or whatever, because she's kind of learning how it is that she can control this. And I really liked seeing that, because Blue is kind of like an amplifier, and we all get that, but I like to think that maybe there's something more. I'm a bad person, but through this whole book, I basically was just waiting for Gansey to die. That's kind of the thing. We know he's going to die. We know he is. I mean, it's inevitable. And I really hope it's not Blue's fault. I mean, I want there to be some smoochy time. Please, 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 please. But I really don't want him to die from that, because that's horrible. So we all know he's going to die. And Adam had that vision of Gansey, like, all blood-covered, having a seizure on the ground and dying. And through this whole book, it was just like, his death was lurking around the corner. Like, I just felt it in the pages as I was reading. There's this one part when they explore a cave. Oh, and the caves were so spooky. This book gave me shivers. Anyway, they're in this cave and he falls in a hole, and they're all tied together, so he's fine. He's fine. But then he's talking to Blue as she's trying to kind of get him to come back up, and he says that he hears something and he feels stuff on his legs and it feels like the hornets, and, you know, he's super allergic, so if he gets stung, he's dead. So I kind of start getting that nervous sweat under my armpits, and I'm like, they wouldn't. There's no way. Not now. Not, you know, 20 pages into this book, because it's right at the beginning. And they hear, like, the sound of the wings and everything coming up out of the hole, and you're just like, oh my, no, you know, and you don't know if you want to read or if you want to stop, because literally his death was, like, 2 paragraphs away, and you could feel it. He did not die. She psyched you out so hard. I thought he was gonna die. And through the whole book, it just felt like in a movie, when somebody, you know, doesn't die, only to tragically get, like, shot, like, unexpectedly 5 minutes later, because you think you're through it, but then you're not. So the whole rest of the book was like that for me. I was just expecting something horrible, like a stray bee to come sting him, and then he's dead for no reason, just because when we expected him to die, he didn't. It was awful. And not to be mean, but I'm hoping somehow that there's, like, a loophole in this, and the person to die is gonna be Adam. I know that's really bad, but when I think about Gansey dying, the thing that actually makes me most heartbroken is just imagining Ronan's reaction. Because I totally ship the Gansey-Ronan bromance thing. I mean, they all have a bromance going on, but the two of them. And Ronan is so angry and lonely as it is that I'm gonna get all teary-eyed here. Imagining his reaction to Gansey dying hurts my soul. Adam I don't particularly like. He's kind of an asshole. Like, I get that he needs to show that he won't take handouts and he can make something for himself, but I don't really think it's fair for him to be all pissy and make everybody else feel bad every time they whip out some cash or try to offer to buy him something. Like, that's out of their control. They were born rich just as he was born poor, and it's not anybody's fault here. But in this book, because he had so much else on his mind, it wasn't really there, so that increased my liking of him by like 10 million times. I'd still prefer if he died, though. I mean, if somebody had to die, obviously no death is the course of action that we all hope will be taken, but we know better than that. I feel like I should be talking about the plot, but there wasn't too much going on. I mean, there was, but it's the characters for me. So they start finding some caves that they think are gonna lead to Big G, but actually they wake up his daughter, apparently, who is some just kooky loon. I mean, she's something else. I mean, she's constantly singing all crazy, and she's got this huge mess of black tangled hair. They wake her up, and she's spouting all these weird poems that I feel like I should have paid more attention to, because it's probably got some clues to something. And Adam's getting all these weird powers now, and Ronan wasn't actually in the book that much. There wasn't much to do with Ronan, now that I think about it. So, I mean, plot-wise, the end was where it picked up. They found this cave. They woke up all these weird animals, which it was kind of random. Sometimes there's just the most random weird things. Like, they went down in this cave and there's all these like extinct animal skeletons that Gansey magically brings back to life with the power of his beautiful commanding voice. And then they ride them through a hole in the wall to this big mirror lake. Anyway, so Blue walks across and she finds her mom, and then this bad guy shows up with Mr. Gray and guns, and they're shooting. So they find out there's 3 sleepers, and there's a third one. They can't wake up. You have to have 3 people to wake it up, and the door is like right there. So Blue finds her mom and Artemis, her father. So the 3 of them are like, okay, we can't open this. So they get out, and then the bad lady Piper, Green Mantle's wife, is down there. She got like cave collapsed on her, and she's down there with some henchmen. And then Neve, I think is her name, the crazy lady from the first one, magically appears out of nowhere and is like, well, 3 would be best, but we can open this door with 2. Let's wake up this sleeper and unleash unimaginable horror, well, potentially, like, evil. We don't really know what's in there. Yeah, listen, the sleeper wasn't human. Piper wasn't sure why she'd expected it would be. Maybe because last time I checked, all the other sleepers are human, I think? Big G's a human? His daughter was a human? I would think she'd think it's a human. Instead, it was small and black and shiny with more legs than she'd expected. Like a dung beetle? Anyway, this book was great. I loved it. You guys know that. I love these books. I don't want to wait for the next one. I've got so many theories rolling around my head of like, what's gonna happen, who's gonna die, whatever, that I feel like I'm not putting what I should be saying into words, but it's there. And I don't know, I can't figure out how many books there's supposed to be in this series. It says cycle, so I'm assuming that's 4, but like I was Googling it trying to make sure, and nobody is saying anything about it. So if you guys happen to know how many books, please tell me. And if you haven't read this series and you watched this when you shouldn't have, read this series. It's the shiz. Alright, that's all I've got to say on this for now. Sorry for my mad woman babbling. And if you read this book, I hope you loved it as much as I did.